Our top story this hour, humanitarians under attack. At least 9 are dead, dozens of others injured, and hundreds of activists in Israeli prisons today after special forces raided 6 flotilla ships bringing aid to the Gaza Strip. Many of those on board of the flotilla were part of a group called the Free Gaza Movement, the pro-Palestinian international human rights organization. A lot of their work centers around bringing aid to the Gaza Strip and also bringing attention and awareness to the Israeli blockade there. Joining me now is writer, activist, and organizer for the Free Gaza Movement, Ramsey Kaisa. Ramsey, I want to talk to you. This was a lot of people involved in your group that were on board these flotilla ships. Talk to me just first about what you've heard and your initial reaction.
Well, we know as much as everybody else knows. Our attorneys inside of Palestine right now have been trying for 2 days to get complete access to all of the prisoners that Israel took when they attacked our ships, and not successfully. Today, for the first time, we got access to about 1/3 of the prisoners, but only for 3 hours.
When you say access, do you mean you've been able to speak with them?
We have a team of attorneys inside Palestine that is handling their cases. It is not clear yet what all the people are going to be charged with, but in past cases it has been entering Israel illegally, which is ironic since no one had any intention of going to Israel in the first place.
We spoke earlier with Adam Shapiro. His wife was one of the people on board. I know they have spoken. What do you know about sort of what the mission was exactly?
Our mission was to get to Gaza and deliver much-needed humanitarian aid, and in so doing draw attention to the fact that it is Israel's blockade that has created this humanitarian crisis in the very first place. The funny thing is people call us this political organization, and in a way we are, but it's Israel that's politicized the issue of delivering humanitarian aid, not we.
And there is even talk now that Israel is saying that the Free Gaza movement is one of the biggest threats right now.
I mean, this is so overblown, it's unbelievable. It's like something out of a Monty Python sketch. Our ships are loaded with humanitarian and developmental aid. Before we load the ships, in any port that they come from, we insist that the port authorities, the local government, search the ships, search the cargo, to combat this very, idea that Israel's putting forward. We release a full manifest of what's on board. We release all the names of the passengers. We have GPS on board all of the ships, which gives our exact location at all times on the internet. Anybody can see it. And we have international journalists there as well. So the idea that we posed any sort of threat whatsoever to Israel's security, I mean, it's nonsense.
Classroom supplies, food, medicine, these are just a few things that were on board the ship. But, I mean, you yourself said that you wanted to bring attention, the Free Gaza movement wanted to bring attention to this blockade. What did you expect? And there had to be conversations before this happened about what you expected to be met with by going this direction.
Yeah. This is the 9th mission that we've organized over the last 2 years, and we've successfully reached Gaza on 5 different occasions and been violently stopped by Israel on 3 different occasions. In no case has anyone ever lost their life. And given the statements that came out of Israel, that they were preparing for this operation for weeks, that they were going to send out half their navy, that they were willing to pay any price, at any cost they were going to stop these ships. Given the fact that they knew exactly who we were, where we were, what was on every ship, you have to begin to wonder whether this was intentional, whether there was a deliberate decision taken to try and use as deadly force as they could to send a message not to allow any more flotillas to be organized.
But couldn't, I mean, this is Israel that we're talking about. They certainly have proved that they seem to have strategies for much of what they do. Didn't they know that by doing this and coming in violently, as we saw, that this would be a huge PR nightmare for them?
I think they severely miscalculated, because quite the opposite of being frightened away, we are more resolved than ever to go again, and we have gotten more offers of support after this mission than all the others combined.
Certainly, as we saw in some of the video that's come out right now, it is clear that Israel did come on board the flotillas. However, there are reports coming from the Israeli Defense Forces saying that they came on and they didn't make the first move, that they were being threatened, they were being provoked.
Coming on is the first move. This was a flotilla of unarmed ships carrying only humanitarian aid in international waters that had no intention of going anywhere near Israel.
Were there weapons on board?
There were not weapons on board. The ships were searched. There is no chance there were weapons on board. Now, the question of what happened exactly when they came on board is one that we would like to see an independent international commission determine. And we are quite happy to participate with them in any way whatsoever. It is Israel that is insisting that the Israeli military investigate this and not an independent group.
What, in your communication that you have had with Israel in terms of bringing in goods, in terms of the blockade, what is their reasoning for needing this blockade?
It is an act of collective punishment. You know, it doesn't matter what their security concerns are with the government inside Gaza. It doesn't matter what the geopolitical situation is. The fact of the matter is that in defending your own interests, you cannot collectively punish an entire civilian population. There are 1.5 million people in Gaza, in one of the most densely populated places on the planet. And to deliberately create a humanitarian catastrophe that forces a majority of them into poverty, that dramatically increases childhood malnutrition and death, it's illegal under international law, and it's profoundly immoral.
And just real briefly, I want to know from you, what's next? What's on the agenda? You said this is not going to stop you from continuing to try to bring aid.
Our most immediate concern right now is the prisoners that are being held in Israel, to get all of the information about what's going on with them. We still do not know how many people were killed, let alone their names and identities. And the families of all of the people who came on this flotilla are, I mean, what Israel is doing in not releasing these names and identities is profoundly cruel. People are really, really scared that you know, their loved ones have been killed. So the first thing is to get those names out there, to get our passengers released. And then after that, we're going to organize another flotilla to Gaza.
I'm sure that a lot of the people who are safe have not been able to communicate, so probably a lot of families on this end still just don't know. Ramzi Kaisa with the Free Gaza Movement. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.